I mean, a black hawk. I'm not reading out here, but I'm chilling out here. It's in the 50s. There might still be snow on the ground. But I'm enjoying. There's a moth flying around, so he's on the hunt.
Welcome to a new vlog. It's going to be the buddy read vlog, but I do want to say this is going to be like one of the hardest vlogs ever to film. This morning I had to put down my little beanie baby Penny. She was like 16 and a half years old and just hadn't been eating or drinking anymore. So it was her time to go on to what is next. But I know that she's always with me, my little dog. Well, paw print, because I told her, I was like, it's for the kitties and the puppies, is always there, always are with me in spirit. And yeah, it's very hard. But I mean, knowing for a few days in advance. Yeah, so I am going to go through our weekly TBR. First, we have what I start my day with, and that is Devotions by Mary Oliver, who these are a lot of like nature poetry, nature poems. The Timeless volume showcases the beloved poet at her edifying best. Within these pages, she provides us with an extraordinary and invaluable collection of her passionate perspective and much observations of the natural world. I loved Upstream that I read by this poet. This one I have already read one little section. She sees the world how it's meant to be seen, and we love it. Next, our main focus for the vlog is our book club pick, and it is an ebook. We'll be reading it on my Kindle. I guess I should probably be holding on my Kindle, but too bad. It is called Thrifted Hearts by T. Atkins. It is a romance book because we are focusing on reading romance in February. The little description says, Anna walks away from her parents' planned life to build her own path, finding unexpected love with Noah until secrets from her past threaten their future together. That's our main focus. And then as a mood read, I'm going to be starring Piranesi by Susanna Clark. This has just been calling my name, and when books do that, they usually tend to be 5 stars. This is, I've been told to go in not knowing anything. So I'm not gonna read the whole description, but it says Piranesi introduces an astounding new world, an infinite labyrinth full of startling images and surreal beauty, haunted by the tides and the clouds. We will have to see. And then my ebook pick is Wayward by Chuck Wendig. This is going to take me months to get through. I read the first book in the series in 2024. Basically, there was a plague that made all these people sleepwalk, and now we're seeing the aftermath of that pandemic that killed like a ton of people, and seeing how society rises again after that. And those are all of the books that I plan to read this week. Also, it is the second. I usually go to Barnes & Noble on the first. I do not know if the mall is open. Why, you may ask? It's a snow day. I think it should be open because the roads aren't that bad, but you never know because I mean school isn't in session, but again it is like below freezing. We will just have to see, but we could be going to Barnes & Noble in this vlog. Hey guys, it is time for me to show you what I got at Barnes & Noble this month. So we're focusing on romance. So I was able to find 2 of the shortest books on my to buy list, and the other is one that somebody on Reddit convinced me to get. First, we have In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle, and an unforgettable love story, but it is not the one you're expecting. This was actually in the main fiction section. Next, we have Waiting for Tom Hanks by Carrie Winfrey. She wrote my favorite romance book from last year. It says a rom-com obsessed romantic waiting for her perfect leading man learns that life doesn't always go according to a script in this delightfully charming and funny novel. And lastly, the one that Reddit convinced me to get is, oh, I thought my copy was damaged up there, but it is The Mad Wife by Megan Church. They call it hysteria. She called it survival. In the vein of The Bell Jar, The Hours, The Mad Wife weaves together or weaves domestic drama with psychological suspense so poignant and immersive you won't want to put it down. So that is what I got at Barnes & Noble today. It's time for the reading update on Thrifted Hearts. I did write my notes down. I know I could put them into the Kindle, but for the sake of this being like the book club one, I want to just have an extra copy. First note is, are we going on a mission? Because I would love that with the plot. Noah had a family heirloom intentionally get donated to the thrift store. He's going to the thrift store trying to find said item, see if he can get it back. And that is where he meets Anna, who is the female main character. Are we gonna go on a little mission trying to find this clock? Because I think that would be a lot of fun as somebody who loves the thrift store. That's actually one of my fears, is something that once meant something to me and then I'm trying to find it and being like, oh my gosh, did it accidentally get donated to Goodwill or some. Literally one of my fears is something accidentally getting donated. In chapter 2, I also don't know how I feel about Noah. He's kind of having a pity party for himself with this bougie lifestyle that he lives, where I was like, like, I don't dislike him, but I'm like, I don't really care about this rich guy complaining about his problems of like his dating life and that kind of thing. And it makes me feel kind of bad because I'm like, am I lacking empathy? Like, I don't mean to. Going into chapter 3, I'm like, wait, does Anna work at the thrift store or not? Because when they meet, Noah thinks that she's working at the thrift store going through the blouses, but then another girl comes up to her and is like, is this a new one or whatever, like talking about the guy. And I'm like, wait, and just some of the words made me think, is she just really big into thrifting and goes there all the time? Or does she actually work at the thrift store? Do you think she actually works at the thrift store? But I did have some confusion. In chapter 4, so I talked about Anna as wanting to leave behind a life that was destined to her by her family. But now we are like, it feels like she's pretending to be poor, like playing poor. And that it doesn't really sit right with me, which I don't think is the author's intention for it to look that way. I don't know, I feel like it could just have gone about in a different way. And lastly, in chapter 6, I think we're going to see the two friends of our main characters, the best friends, hook up with each other, and that could potentially be another book. I do know the author has other books, but I don't know if they're all in an interconnected universe like we commonly see in the romance genre. This is my first romance short story. I read 40 pages, by the way. I am 43% into the book. I don't know if I said that, but that is all for the nightly reading update on Thrifted Hearts. And at 9, it's currently about 7:30, I will be starting Piranesi. I am going to be following along with the audiobook. I'll show y'all the ambience that I'm using. So this one technically like isn't an ambience room, it's just a framed art video. So this is a Valentine themed frame art video, festive Valentine ambience, no music. I don't like to have music in my ambience videos. And this is from Sight to See on YouTube. I just finished the book, so we are going to be doing some call pal. It's Tuesday. Sorry, I didn't say what day of the week is, but this is Thrifted Hearts that we are talking about. Where are the characters? That is where I feel kind of sticky, where I don't know which way I'm going to go with my rating, because I don't like how she's like playing poor, and a lot of just her thought process is kind of stupid to me, which I feel like with this review I'm being really harsh. Like, this is a short story, and now I've learned, hey, that doesn't work for me. At least this time around it didn't. I like to give things 3 strikes and you're out. But the whole thought process of her life and how she's going about this relationship with this guy, I think is really dumb. And then the playing poor, as I said, she's like, I'm a rich girl who I could buy this whole thrift store and turn it into a cat cafe if I wanted to. Like, I really don't have to be being a volunteer. Like, okay, cool. Why can't you be rich and volunteer? Like, why is that not a thing? Why do you have to hide a part of yourself? Why can you not be your true self? I don't understand. And then I just didn't like to hear about them complain about their rich lives. Not in touch, I guess. with the real world. Dislike these characters, so I think that just means it's going to be a 2-star for characters. The atmosphere was fine. I would have liked the thrift store to play more of a part into the story. The cover of the book is literally like in the shopping cart at the thrift store. I thought the thrift store was going to play a more of a role into the story. I am going to give a 3 to atmosphere because it wasn't bad. And the writing, I'm giving a 3 as well. I have no complaints about the writing. Now today it was randomly, like banter just randomly appeared, and I'm like, where did that come from? We haven't had that anywhere else in the book. And I think the author was just like, oh, people like banter in their romance books, I better sprinkle in some of that. Again, I could just be putting words in the author's mouth. Take that with a grain of salt. Now for the plot. The plot, I do think, as I said, the playing fake being poor, don't understand having this big secret. We get, even though this is a short story, we get a third act breakup, which again I do not understand. It's such a big misunderstanding. Another sentence could have been added. She could have spoken another sentence and the whole thing could have been avoided. This just was so unrealistic for me. Like, even going to this gala, Anna is like, I'm gonna wear this dress and this makeup and nobody's gonna recognize me. What? This is not Hannah Montana. Your hair being up and having makeup on and in a dress rather than jeans, it doesn't change anybody that much. It was just so unrealistic, and I don't understand what lies were told. I think just the whole truth wasn't said because, I mean, it just didn't come up in conversation. I don't think anybody did anything wrong here. Plot, we are definitely gonna have to give a 2-star. Intrigue, it was fine. Logic, again, didn't really make sense to me. I think I'm gonna even give logic a 1-star. Enjoyment, this didn't do a whole lot for me, so we're gonna give that a 2. Let's do the math and see what I'm gonna rate this book. This is getting a whopping 2.25. That's not to say it was a bad book. It's just a book that didn't do a whole lot for me personally. No, I would not recommend this book. But as always, reading is subjective. There's a book out there for everyone, and you're not going to enjoy every book. So I am going to be starting a new book today, and I'm sure I'm going to finish it today, maybe even in the first reading hour, and then we'll go on to another book. But the book that I'm going to read is Cozy by Jan Brett. This is the one that I have sworn that I've read this book before, that this was in my childhood, but this one says it was published in 2020. Now there are other books by the author that is obviously in the same art style, and I swear that I've read it before. Let's see together what this is about. How much do we want to bet that's more words than the entire book? Cozy is the softest musk ox in Alaska with the warmest fur imaginable. When a storm hits while he's separated from his family, Cozy starts to feel lonely, but not for long. As the snow piles up, animals start to notice just how warm and comfy he looks. One mama lemming has a bright idea. Maybe the best place to spend the winter is under Cozy's fur. As more and more animals burrow in, Cozy adds to the house rules. Quiet voices, gentle thumping, claws to yourself, no biting, no pouncing. Fred, doesn't all that sound familiar? That seems easy enough until the lemming, snowshoe hare, snowy owl, arctic fox, and wolverine begin to bicker. Luckily, signs of spring soon appear, and that means Cozy can find his herd and his new friends can head to their summer homes. But not before promising to get cozy with Cozy next year. Jan Brett brings a new lovable character to life through this gorgeous tale of sharing, friendship, and living in harmony. And this, I really, really like her art style. But I was in Books A Million a year ago. I saw this book in the children's section. I didn't pick it up because that's not what I was looking for. I was like, that, I'm just being really drawn to that. So this is what we're going to start at 3 o'clock. I just finished Cozy. I want to go over my thoughts. Also, I want to say I buy these children books and keep them kind of as art pieces because if something looks pretty, I want to look at that. I want to enjoy that art. That is probably my favorite thing about children's books is the art. We are going to go over my notes. That this is kind of like a book inside a book with art style. You can see on the front and back cover this like outline. You can see there's that outline. And it almost looks kind of like indigenous art. Now, I don't know if the author is indigenous or not, but the way it's set up and all, I can definitely see it like inside the living space. Like it looks like art you would hang on a wall, but also it looks like these are pages of a book on pages of a book. Don't know if that makes sense. But I think our main theme here is building community and helping others, even if it's just with what you already have. In this case, it's his fur. It's keeping the others in his community warm. And I think that can just be, okay, what do you have? You might have hands to physically, like, maybe help someone open the door for somebody, carry something for somebody. Maybe somebody, this happens to me a lot, like my dad won't have his glasses on in the store because he doesn't really need them. He does because he can't read the packaging for items sometimes, so I have to be like, okay, this is that, and it's goodbye this date. So if you have healthy eyes, you can help somebody who doesn't. There's just a lot of different ways that you can help somebody, even if it's just with what you've already been given, like, as I said, hands, eyes, ears, whatever. You can help somebody else with what you already have. Another one with the little animals is just being respectful of one another, being respectful of your neighbors, being respectful and protecting your community in a physical sense, being polite to your neighbors. I think this would be a great like story time, even if you're just like reading it with your kid or reading it to a class, because I think it's very interactive. If you see these side panels, this is what is coming. So if you see like these animals in the side panels, as I said, we have a little snow fox, and that will be the next animal that Cozy meets. So I think it'd be like, oh, what animal do you think's gonna come next? Or what do you think is happening here? I think it would be great for story time. And with the art itself, the kind eyes that Cozy has, let me go to the page where I really saw it. Here, he just has such kind eyes, and I've never seen it portrayed so well. So I did really enjoy this. I do recommend it. And also the author's picture, where she visited a farm for the kind of animals. Oh my gosh, all this research. That is amazing. Shout out to Jan Brett. Yes, I would recommend Cozy, and we will be starting another book later tonight. We are moving on to our third book of the vlog, and that is Sloppy Firsts by Megan McCaffrey, who is also known as Rebecca Searle, who we have read from before. This is a book that I got for my mom after she passed. I found it in her storage unit, and now I'm like so happy that I kept it, knowing it's Rebecca Searle. That's so exciting for me. But this is more of a young adult romance, but we are just reading a wide array of the genre. I think that's an important thing to do because you never know what you might find. See the description of the book. I bet that's annoys me all. When her best friend Hope Weaver moves away from Pineville, New Jersey, hyper-observant 16-year-old Jessica Darling is devastated. A fish out of water at school and a stranger at home, Jessica feels more lost than ever now that the only person with whom she could really communicate has gone. How is she supposed to deal with the boy and shopping crazy girls at school? Her dad's obsession with her track meets, her mother salviating over Big Sister Bethany's lavish wedding, and her non-existent love life. A fresh, funny, utterly compelling fiction debut by first-time novelist Megan I've been saying McCaffrey, but McCafferty? There's an R in it. Okay, I'm sorry. Sloppy Firsts is an insightful, true-to-life look at Jessica's predicament as she embarks on another year of teenage torment. From the dark days of Hope's departure through her months as a type A personality turned insomniac to her completely mixed-up feelings about Marcus Flutie, the intelligent and mysterious Dreg who works his way into her heart. Like John Hughes for the 21st century, Megan McCafferty taps into the inherent humor and drama of the teen experience. This poignant, hilarious novel is sure to appeal to readers who are still going through it, as well as those who are grateful that they don't have to go back and grow up all over again, right? So this looks like it's going to be from the early 2000s. Let's see what year this book was published. 2001. Completely different world back then, but don't you think that description told us a whole lot? Like maybe it might have told us a little too much, but I am going to be doing this As an audiobook fan, along with the audiobook, it is on the shorter side. I know people say if it's less than 10 hours, it's a short audiobook, so that's what I'm going by. It's about 8 hours, and I listen at 2 times speed. It's going to be about a 4-hour audiobook for me, because again, we are focusing on the shortest romance books on my TBR this month. I'm gonna go get into it. It's time for the nightly update with Sloppy Firsts. I read 20%, which was 51 pages read. Let's get the notes out. Our first one is, oh sorry, I was looking at my notes from earlier, is that the audiobook was published in 2021 and the physical copy was published in 2001. But it's not like the Dork Diaries where it's like we're gonna take all 2000s references out of here. Like even on the first page, Y2K is brought up and it's still taking place in the year 2000. But there are slight changes to make this more, I would say, politically correct, nicer, rather than saying words like slut, interchanging them with other words, which I don't like to say that word, just to let y'all know. Like, this is a little one, like it said clown instead of moron. It mentions Gwyneth Paltrow, I can never say her name, but it just calls her by her first name, and then the audiobook added the last name, which I guess that's for context so they know who they're talking about, even though, like, I'm like, I knew who they were talking about. And then there's a lot, like, if you have an eating disorder or if that's one of your triggers, don't read the physical copy of this book, at least this 2001 edition. I don't know if they've since republished into a newer edition, because back then, yeah, it was huge, like calling somebody's fat, and like weight was just such a big topic. I'm not going to say specifically some of the things that were changed because I don't want to trigger anybody in that regard. But there were a lot of changes with the audiobook versus the physical book. And then there's a flashback scene to when the character is in first grade and they're having like Thanksgiving, when they do the Thanksgiving stuff at school, and they were singing about it said Pilgrims and Native Americans, but they said Indian. And then it went on like a whole spill in the audiobook saying that that is just so bad that they were calling them that, and that indigenous peoples, and that this country was colonized and blah blah blah. And I was like, whoa, you would not hear that in 2000, but yeah, in 2021 you would. When I was saying there was a foreword on the audiobook talking about how this was taking place in 2000, this was published in 2001 and the Twin Towers fell, so a lot of teenagers, that sense of security was gone because their country had been attacked. And in the 2021 republication, it talks about how young people and teenagers are seeing what this country really is. That could mean COVID, that could mean the administration, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know exactly what the author was talking about, and I don't want to put words into her mouth. But this being YA, this would not be considered YA if it came out today. I'm not sure if, again, a modern publication of it is listed as YA. Like, I only say the 2000s were a trashy time period. It was just trashy. I don't know how to describe it. Like, I see the aesthetic in my head. It was a trashy time. So there's just so much like sex and cussing, which, I mean, do your thing, whatever. I don't consider myself a prude, but you don't see that in young adult fiction today. But back in 2001, I guess you do. And it was just so shocking for me reading this. I was like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't get this in YA romance or contemporary YA fiction in the 2020s. No, even in the 2010s, when I was a young adult reading YA, no, we did not get stuff like this. With our main character, she's very obsessed with the friend of hope. And I do like the metaphor that now that her friend is gone, she's just in high school and she's hopeless of trying to get through high school, just trying to get through those teenage years, that awkward time period of life. But these emails that she sends her friend and just how obsessed she is with her friend, that's the kind of friend where I'm like, no, get out of my life. It's like you give them 1 inch and then they amplify it by 4 or whatever. I forget what the saying is. That is, Jessica's that kind of friend, but this is a series, so I am sure that we see her develop, and through the book I'm sure we see her develop. There was even a part that I did really like, and they had these little email sections. So they're saying she's emailing Hope, telling her how they can keep up the friendship, and it says, remember, only if you want to. The minute our correspondence becomes obligatory. Why? I see the word, why can I not say it? Obligatory? Like where you're obliged to do something. There's no point in keeping touch at all. I miss you already. And that, yeah, I like that. If a relationship starts to feel like, oh, I have to do this, cut it off. Cut it off. That is my update on Sloppy Firsts. We are at the long awaited update of the 25% mark of Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. And yeah, I have very little idea of what is going on, if I'm being honest with y'all. My first note is this is definitely a cold open. You're thrown right into it and you're like, where am I? What is going on? Cold open fever dream. This whole thing is a fever dream where I'm like, yes, I do know, like I acknowledge, okay, he saw a bird this day. There were these statues that he visited and these are the names of the statues. Like, yeah, I know it's all reading and it's going into my brain, but it's like, okay, what is the author trying to do here? And that's why I'm like, I don't really know what's going on. Sure, I know the actions that the characters are doing every day, or, you know, every day that I'm reading, but I don't know what the point or purpose of the story is yet. And I'm really scared because I'm at the 25% mark, and usually at the 25% mark I know what I'm going to rate a book. This year has been proving me wrong on that, but right now I'm just like, what in the world is going on? Like, I would say 3 because I would recommend, or recommend with a maybe, because I do want to know what people's theories are, but at the same time it's like, yeah, this is happening, like, don't have strong emotions towards it. It seems like both Piranesi and the other are scientists, or Piranesi at least thinks that, but I'm like, what if they are actually the experiment? I don't know. But our character of Piranesi, so this book is his journal entries essentially. It doesn't read like the Dork Diaries or something like that crazy in comparison. It doesn't read like a straight up journal in the sense of how we typically think of reading a journal of somebody. It's very different. This is really unlike, I don't want to say unlike anything else I've ever read. It kind of reminds me of House of Leaves, which I don't recommend that book, but it is reminiscent of that, of this unending place that we're in. I'm like, does time and space exist? And he has these journals, and he dated some of them as 2011 and 2012, but he says something about 2,000 years ago. Does he mean 2011 BC? Does he mean 2011 like that, you know, I was alive in? I'm really confused. There was this place that I have read about before in Malta. I'm sure some of y'all have probably heard of it or have seen posts online about it, but it's this underground cave system. I don't know it. I don't think it was human made. I think it was just there already. And I think it was Neolithic times, but I could have the wrong era. They started using these caves. Again, they always are like, scientists will throw, or anthropologists will throw out the word, it was for religious purposes, and that usually means that we really don't know what it was for. These caverns that are under Malta, that is what this is reminding me of. If you are curious, look up underground Neolithic caverns in Malta, and I'm sure it'll come up. That is what I'm picturing in my head for this. Again, I don't know. There's a whole lot of I don't know. This is just my interpretation of what I am reading. And now I'm like, what if they are time travelers? What if Piranesi is somebody from like ancient times or just from some other time? Because he does make point of the other having this like sleek, shiny black object. And that made me think of this, a smartphone, because the other is taking like notes, doing research, because as I said, Piranesi thinks they are both scientists, with the other being more pronounced as being a scientist in my eyes and interpretation of the book. So I'm like, is the other a time traveler? And lastly, what if this is all just a like metaphor? I'm sorry, I'm really bad with my literary devices. I wish that I remembered more of what I learned in high school. Is Piranesi supposed to symbolize humanity and we are wondering why we are here, what is our purpose here, trying to make sense of the world around us, but also having to ask a higher power for things. We're not able to do things ourselves. And I'm like, and then there's another theory for me, is the other just representing the elite or the people on top, our rulers. I'm not sure. I don't know anything. I don't know how much of my interpretations are correct, or they mean anything, or this book is going to give us more solid answers explaining what is happening here, because people love this book. Hopefully I'm able to unravel what Piranesi is, where he is, what is going on in his life, and what is the point of the book. Happy Thursday. It's time for the nightly update. Bless you, Fred. He sneezed. We got to 48% in Sloppy First. We're about halfway through. We're going to go over my notes, which there aren't that many notes. Honestly, this is like a 2.5, 2.75, where it's a fun time, and I should be holding up the book, shouldn't I? It's a fun time, but it's not like you need to go pick up this book immediately or anything like that. But if it appeals to you, then yeah, go pick it up. I'm not sure if there because the image on Goodreads or on Fable is a cartoony cover like romance books are nowadays. When this copy I have here was published in 2001, so we do have a real person on the cover. I think this cover is cute. I mean, if I saw this in Goodwill, would I pick it up? Probably not. The work that goes into covers and if they're intriguing or not, that's a fun time. What I was saying is, since the audiobook has those changes, I don't know if any newer editions of this book have those changes as well. My first note is TV versus books, as this is really a teen drama, slice of life, just going day by day. These are like diary entries. As you can see, there's the little folded up paper there that is part of the plot, but this kind of looks like written on lined paper. That we're just seeing the day-to-day life of a high school girl in the year 2000. It's not bringing anything new to the table, and that had me, why I said TV versus books, where I do eat that stuff up on TV, or I haven't watched a teen drama in a very long time, and when I was watching them, they were from, you know, this decade, and then the early 2010s, my teenage time. I don't really dabble with teen drama too much anymore, but I did really love it on TV. And on this, it's like, yeah, it's fun, but is this going to be forgettable? I don't know, because it is, my other note is that it's very campy, very funny. I don't know if when this was originally published, if it was intended to be that way, or if it's now just looking back at that time period that makes it campy, makes some of it funny. When you read this physical copy, some of the words that are being used on it, they might not be politically correct, they may not be the nicest things, but it's a time capsule to that time period that does add that campy tone to it. I do like the tone, and a lot of times when I read young adult, I sometimes find the characters to be annoying, but no, I don't really find her to be annoying at all. Jessica, I think she's a very relatable character and is portrayed very well of what a high school girl is like and all the emotions and feelings that a teenager is going through. I don't think this is a bad book in any way. It's not a great book, but it's a book, and if it sounds like something you would like, maybe pick it up. We are going to go through the weekly wrap-up. I have read over 100 pages 2 days this week. Wednesday was my biggest reading day at 130 pages read. I have completed 2 books this week, the first being Thrifted Hearts and the second being Cozy. I don't know why I thought I finished 3 books, but yeah, I've only finished 2 books this week, and I do want to give y'all a sneak peek to next week's vlog. So the theme for next week's vlog is reading the shortest books or the shortest book on my TBR according to Goodreads, the shortest romance book, and that is Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. This is a Christmas romance. The plot is we have our main female character who she's just out on the streets of Manhattan window shopping. She's looking at the displays in New York City. It's a big thing that they go all out with their Christmas displays in their windows. So she's looking at it, and this guy comes up next to her. He's like, what do you think about it? And she's like, honestly, I think it's really ugly and bad. Turns out he's the owner of said store. So he's like, okay, what can we do to make it better? I'm going to hire you to make the best Christmas display possible. And she is attracted to this man, but she is just window shopping. So she really has to resist that temptation of buying something from the store or falling head over heels for this guy. That is the book that we're reading next week. And I just want to give a shout out to my girl Penny at the end of this video. I know she is still here with me. But yeah, it's really hard. And I'm always like, oh gosh, if people in real life ask me how I'm doing, what am I gonna say? Because I really struggle with that question. I'm just like, I'm doing as well as anybody can in that situation, because that is like a part of my soul that has gone to another plane. But at the same time, seeing Fred, who is also kind of, I don't want to say he's struggling, but it's obvious that he's looking for her and is grieving in his own way, that Fred and I have to look out for each other. And that just, I know that I'm not alone. Even I know people on here will be like, you're not alone, we're here with you. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for everybody who has sent kind words. I haven't gone and replied to Facebook or Reddit or wherever yet. I just wanted to wait a few days before I go do that and thank everybody on there, because it truly means so much. But yeah, as I said, with Fred grieving, and then obviously my dad, but more so Fred, because my dad really likes to be alone, and I'm just somebody who's like, I don't want to be alone when I'm sad. So having Fred right there has been super nice. But just knowing that I'm not going through this process alone, and that is something that I really realized yesterday, and that has done a whole lot for me. With grief, everything takes time, and that's definitely true. It has gotten easier each day, but I do know grief is a hell of a ride. I've been through it several times before, sadly, but I know that I might just be standing in line in the grocery store and start crying one day. That has happened. So it is a process, and it does get easier as time goes on from my personal experience. I know everybody's process with grief is differently. I read a lot about it in books. So it is a process. So I do want to say thank you to everybody who has sent kind words. And as I said, I did want to give a shout out to Penny, because she is and was so special to me. But we're going to do the outro now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it all the way through, leave a heart emoji in the comments below, and as always, comment, rate, or subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.